Hello and welcome back, guys. So I just recently watched a video of American politician Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I just thought it was something to look at.
Are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it?
I find it intriguing that people do believe that we are on the brink of catastrophic disaster. So I thought it'd be cool to just talk about some of the really bad climate predictions that never came true. In 1972, the Club of Rome released a multi-million copy selling book, The Limits to Growth. The model demonstrated that we would run out of oil by 1992 and gas by 1993. And gold, and mercury, and silver, and zinc, and tin, and lead. Alright, so let's talk about one of the most influential intellects of the 1970s, Paul Ehrlich. In 1971, Paul Ehrlich said that in the year 2000, the UK would be nothing but a bunch of impoverished islands inhabited by 70 million hungry people. In 1974, Paul Ehrlich said that the economic joyride of the United States would soon come to an end, and there would be no more cheap, abundant energy and no more cheap, abundant food. Life magazine in January of 1970 said that because of particles released from fossil fuels burning, scientists had scientific and theoretical evidence to support the following two claims. The first claim that within a decade, those living in cities would have to wear gas masks in order to survive the air pollution. By 1985, the air pollution will reduce the amount of sunlight that reaches the Earth by half. Let us also consider John Holdren, a protege of Paul Ehrlich, and was also science advisor for Barack Obama. He believed that carbon dioxide climate-induced famine would kill up to 1 billion people, and that's a billion people by the year 2020. And I mean, hey, don't even get me started about James Hansen, Bill McKibben. Like, there are some bad climate predictions out there. And this is all interesting because if you watch mainstream media, they're just throwing exaggerated truths and sensationalism at us. And people buy it because if it bleeds, it leads. It makes for a good story. It gets people's attention. And I think it's funny because if you were to go back a few decades, and if you were to question these people, people would say, no, don't question these people. These are the top climate scientists and the science is settled. But yet we can't question science? Like, what's up with that? And what happened? We didn't even follow their advice. We literally doubled our fossil fuel use. Now, I don't want to come across as someone who sounds like they don't think that climate change is an issue or that environmentalism is an issue, because I do believe those are issues. But I do think that it is all extremely overblown, especially when people start saying things like we have 12 years to save the planet, when they have been telling us this for decades, like literally decades. The elites have been telling us that this is an issue, and none of their predictions come true. So I will bet anybody any amount of money that in 12 years, the planet will still be here and we will all still be here. I don't know. It's all just very interesting. But hey, if you really want to know what's going on behind climate change and who's really behind it, definitely search up geoengineering. Really interesting stuff if you want to go down the rabbit hole. I just think it's interesting because people will say, oh my God, it's snowing right now and it shouldn't be snowing and this is all due to climate change. I mean, governments have been manipulating weather for some time now. Oh, Sam, that's pretty crazy of you to say, man. Well, let's watch this.
Welcome to winter in Beijing, China. Bone-chilling temperatures and fierce biting winds are nothing new here, but heavy snow is relatively rare. So when forecasters called for some snow over the weekend, residents expected the usual light dusting of powder. Instead, Beijing's 17 million residents woke up to surprisingly heavy snow Sunday morning. But this first snowstorm of the season had plenty of human help, according to Beijing's Weather Modification Office. They claim that cloud seeded with 186 doses of silver iodide greatly enhanced the snowstorm. Northern China has been in a major drought, and the government thinks cloud seeding could bring relief to this major wheat-growing region. But Beijing's snow gain may be a big loss for other parts of the country. Some of their needed precipitation may have been diverted to China's capital city by order of the Weather Modification Office. I'm Jeff Barr, Weather.com.
So let's take a look at the Beijing Weather Modification Office. So what they do is they do control the weather, and they do it by cloud seeding and firing rockets and shells loaded with silver iodide into them. Silver iodide. Yeah, that's got to be safe to put into the clouds. Seems totally safe. And if you want to sit there and think that the Chinese are the only ones that are manipulating weather, don't think for 1 second that the Americans aren't doing it as well.
was no coincidence that the United States began building its own mysterious array of antennas in February 1992. They are located in Gakona, Alaska. The project is called HARP.
HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, originally a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy in cooperation with a number of academic institutions.
It is today the world's largest radio broadcasting station, but it's not designed to broadcast for human ears. It uses unique patented ability to focus the energy coming out of the antenna field and injects that energy into a spot at the very top of the atmosphere in a region called the ionosphere.
HARP is comprised of 180 antennas, approximately 72 feet tall, linked together to function as one giant steerable antenna. Steerable because it can aim millions of watts of ELF waves into one tiny patch of the atmosphere.
The amount of energy we're talking about here is 3.6 million watts. To give you an idea of what that is, the largest legal AM radio station in North America is 50,000 watts. HARP is 72,000 50,000 watt radio stations injecting their entire output into a spot that's about 12 miles across by about 2.5 miles deep by about 90 miles up.
This is where HARP is pointing. It's an area located roughly 300 miles from Anchorage. The U.S. military says HARP is merely being used to study the physical and electrical properties and behavior of the ionosphere for both civilian and defense purposes. But another theory has surfaced. The intense energy being beamed into the sky by HARP is actually heating up the atmosphere, causing weather changes.
HARP is being used for weather modification. The military's own record proves it. They've admitted it within their own documents, and yet they still deny it to the public.
I just think it's interesting. I just think it's extremely interesting that we are told that we are on the brink of catastrophic climate change, but yet there is evidence out there that supports that governments around the world are manipulating climate. So I don't know. What's going on here, guys? Think for yourselves. That's all I'm going to say. Well, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully we're still here in 12 years, and I will see you in the next video.